John Fitzgerald Kennedy is remembered as one of the most famous and charismatic presidents in American history. To many Americans, he symbolized youth, hope, and a bold new future. Even decades after his death, people still speak about him with fascination. People often called him simply JFK. He was young, confident, intelligent, photogenic, a natural speaker. John Kennedy was born on May 29, 1917, in Brookline. He grew up in wealth and privilege. His father, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Sr., was a wealthy businessman and powerful political figure. His mother, Rose Kennedy, came from another influential family. The Kennedy family was ambitious. Very ambitious. Success was expected. Excellence was expected. Winning mattered. Joseph Kennedy had enormous dreams for his children. He wanted power, influence, legacy. He believed one of his sons would eventually become President of the United States. From childhood, competition shaped family life. The Kennedy children were pushed to excel in academics, sports, and public life. They were taught discipline, ambition, and confidence. JFK grew up surrounded by talented siblings, including his older brother Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., who was initially seen as the family's brightest political hope. At first, John was not necessarily the obvious future star. In fact, JFK often struggled physically. Behind his charming smile was poor health. Throughout much of his life, Kennedy dealt with serious medical problems. Chronic pain, back issues, frequent illness, low energy at times. Yet he rarely showed weakness publicly. He learned to hide pain, to appear strong even when suffering. This ability would define much of his life. JFK attended elite schools and eventually studied at Harvard University. He was intelligent and curious, especially about history and international affairs. He developed strong interest in world politics and global power struggles. His education sharpened his mind. But the world was changing fast. War was coming. World War II changed everything. When World War II began, Kennedy joined the United States Navy. This decision became one of the most important chapters of his life. During the war, Kennedy commanded a patrol boat known as PT-109 in the Pacific. Then disaster struck. A Japanese destroyer crashed into his boat. The vessel split apart. 2 crew members died. The rest were stranded in dangerous waters. JFK, despite severe pain and exhaustion, helped save survivors. He swam long distances while helping an injured crew member. He led his men towards safety. He refused to give up. His actions made him a war hero. The story spread. Americans admired his courage under extreme pressure. His leadership during crisis built the foundation of his public image. He was no longer just a rich young man from a powerful family. He had proven himself. Then tragedy changed the Kennedy family forever. JFK's older brother, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., died during the war. This loss changed everything. The son once expected to become president was gone. Now family expectations shifted toward John. The burden became his. His father's dream now rested on him. And soon, John Kennedy would enter politics, beginning one of the most dramatic political rises in American history. After returning from World War II as a decorated war hero, John Kennedy faced a turning point. He could have chosen business. He could have chosen journalism. He could have lived a comfortable private life. But history, and family expectations, pulled him toward politics. After the death of his older brother, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., the Kennedy family's political dream shifted entirely to John. His father, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Sr., saw enormous potential in him. And Joseph Kennedy was determined. He had money, connections, influence, and he used all of it to support John's political future. But money alone could not create charisma. That part belonged to JFK himself. People noticed something magnetic about Kennedy. He looked different from older politicians. He sounded different. He felt modern. At a time when many American politicians seemed formal and distant, JFK felt energetic and relatable. He had charm, humor, confidence. He could connect with people naturally. And perhaps most importantly, people remembered him. In 1946, JFK ran for the United States House of Representatives from Massachusetts. He campaigned aggressively. He met voters face to face. He shook hands. He listened. He built personal connections. And he won. At just 29 years old, John Kennedy entered Congress. His political career had officially begun. In Washington, Kennedy continued building his reputation. He was intelligent and ambitious, but also strategic. He understood something important about politics: visibility matters. If you want power, people must know who you are. JFK thought long-term. Very long-term. He was not simply thinking about Congress. He was thinking bigger. Much bigger. The Senate. And eventually, the presidency. But while his political career rose, his private life was about to change forever. In 1952, JFK met a young woman who immediately captured attention everywhere she went. Her name was Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, though most people would later know her simply as Jackie Kennedy. She was elegant, intelligent, stylish, sophisticated. Jackie had something rare. She combined beauty with intellect. She spoke multiple languages. She loved literature, art, and culture. She brought glamour and refinement wherever she went. Together, John and Jackie became one of the most fascinating couples in America. They looked almost cinematic. Young, beautiful, photogenic, powerful. The media loved them. Their relationship attracted enormous public attention. Many Americans saw them as the perfect modern political couple. They married in 1953. The wedding became a major social event. Hundreds attended. Newspapers covered everything. Public fascination only grew. But behind the glamorous image, life was not perfect. JFK's health problems continued. Severe back pain remained a constant struggle. He underwent surgeries. He often suffered privately while maintaining a strong public image. Very few people understood how much pain he lived with daily. Yet he kept moving forward. Then came the race that transformed him into a national star. In 1952, JFK challenged veteran Senator Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. for a seat in the United States Senate. It was a huge challenge. Lodge was experienced and respected. Beating him would be difficult. Kennedy campaigned relentlessly. His family helped. Jackie helped. His charisma worked. And he won. This victory changed everything. Now JFK had national relevance. He was no longer just a young congressman. He was a United States Senator. A serious political figure. His speeches gained attention. His ideas reached larger audiences. His popularity grew beyond Massachusetts. People started asking a new question: could John Kennedy become president? That idea sounded bold, even unrealistic. He was young, very young for such ambition. And there was another major obstacle: religion. JFK was Catholic. At that time, many Americans worried a Catholic president might be influenced by the Catholic Church or even the Pope. Religious bias remained strong in United States politics. This would become one of his greatest political challenges. Still, Kennedy kept preparing. He wrote books. He gave speeches. He expanded his influence. And then, in 1960, he made the decision that would change history. John Kennedy announced his run for President of the United States. The country was about to witness one of the most historic elections in American history. And JFK was ready. In 1960, John Kennedy officially entered the race for President of the United States. It was one of the boldest political moves in modern American history. Kennedy was only 43 years old. Young. Relatively inexperienced compared with older political giants. And many doubted he could win. Critics raised the same concerns again and again. Too young. too wealthy, too inexperienced, too Catholic. Many political experts believed America was not ready for a Catholic president. Religious bias remained strong across the country. Some feared Kennedy would answer to the Catholic Church instead of the Constitution. For many candidates, such doubts could destroy a campaign. But JFK was different. He faced criticism directly, calmly, confidently. He made something clear to the American people. He was not running as a Catholic president. He was running as an American president. That message mattered. Then came the moment that changed political history forever. Television debates. For the first time in United States history, presidential debates were broadcast live on national television. Kennedy's opponent was Richard Nixon, vice president under Dwight Eisenhower. Nixon was experienced, highly intelligent, a skilled debater. Many believed he had the advantage. But they underestimated something powerful. Television changes politics. And Kennedy understood this better than anyone. During the debate, JFK looked confident and calm. He wore a sharp dark suit. He appeared relaxed, focused, presidential. Nixon looked tired, sweaty, uncomfortable. The contrast was dramatic. People listening on radio often thought Nixon performed better on policy. But people watching on television overwhelmingly favored Kennedy. Why? Because leadership is not only about words. It is also about presence. Kennedy looked like a president. That changed everything. In one night, JFK became the future. Millions of Americans saw something new. A younger generation of leadership. A modern image of America. Confidence. Energy. Optimism. JFK represented the future. And suddenly, momentum shifted toward him. The election became incredibly close. One of the closest in American history. Election night was tense. Votes came in slowly. The nation waited. Then the result became clear. John Kennedy had won. He became the 35th President of the United States. And at 43, he became one of the youngest presidents ever elected. America had entered a new era. In January 1961, Kennedy stood before the nation at his inauguration. Snow-covered parts of Washington. The atmosphere felt historic. Then he delivered one of the most famous speeches in presidential history. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. The words were powerful, simple, memorable, timeless. They inspired millions. Kennedy challenged Americans to think beyond themselves, to serve, to contribute, to build a better nation. His presidency quickly became associated with a bold vision called the New Frontier. This vision focused on progress, science, economic growth, civil rights, global leadership. Kennedy wanted America to lead the future. And nowhere was that vision more visible than space exploration. JFK aimed for something almost impossible: the Moon. At the height of the space race with the Soviet Union, Kennedy made an extraordinary promise. America would send a man to the Moon. Not someday. Within the decade. Many thought it was unrealistic. Too expensive. Too ambitious. But Kennedy believed bold goals create national unity. They inspire innovation. They push societies forward. And people believed him. Meanwhile, the White House became something special under JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. It became glamorous, elegant, sophisticated. Jackie transformed the White House culturally. She brought art, history, and style into public attention. The Kennedys became global celebrities. Young, beautiful, powerful. The media became obsessed. People began comparing the Kennedy White House to Camelot, a legendary kingdom of hope and greatness. But behind the glamour, dangerous global tensions were growing. Very dangerous. Because soon, JFK would face crises that could trigger nuclear war. And his greatest test as president was about to begin. After entering the White House as the 35th President of the United States, John Kennedy quickly faced one of the most dangerous periods in modern history. The world was divided by fear. Tension between superpowers was rising. And the Cold War was becoming more dangerous every day. The greatest threat came from the confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union. Nuclear weapons had changed global politics forever. One wrong decision could destroy entire cities. Then came the crisis that brought the world to the edge of nuclear war. In 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis began. American intelligence discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the United States. Panic spread quickly inside the government. Military leaders demanded immediate action. Some advised an airstrike. Others pushed for invasion. The world held its breath. JFK faced an impossible choice: act aggressively and risk nuclear war, or choose diplomacy and risk appearing weak. For 13 days, the world stood on the edge of disaster. But Kennedy chose restraint. He chose negotiation. He chose time over violence. Behind the scenes, intense diplomatic talks took place. Slowly, a solution was reached. The Soviet Union agreed to remove the missiles. The United States agreed not to invade Cuba. Nuclear war was avoided. The world exhaled. This moment defined JFK's leadership. He showed calm under extreme pressure. He showed that strength is not only military, it is also restraint. But while Kennedy was preventing global war, another battle was unfolding at home. The United States was deeply divided over civil rights. Millions of African Americans faced segregation and discrimination. Protests were growing across the country. Kennedy began supporting the civil rights movement more strongly. He called for new laws to protect equal rights. He supported desegregation efforts. He pushed for national change. It was a politically risky decision. Many opponents resisted. But Kennedy believed justice could not wait. His leadership helped lay the foundation for future civil rights progress in America. At the same time, JFK's presidency was becoming a symbol of optimism. Young leadership, modern ideas, hope for the future. But behind the scenes, danger was approaching. The world would soon lose one of its most iconic leaders in a moment that shocked humanity. On November 22, 1963, while traveling in Dallas, President Kennedy was riding in an open motorcade. Crowds lined the streets. The atmosphere seemed normal, peaceful, even celebratory. Then tragedy struck. Shots were fired. John Kennedy was critically wounded. Despite immediate medical efforts, he died shortly after. The nation was stunned. The world was stunned. Television broadcasts interrupted everything. People stopped in silence. Some cried. Many could not believe what they were hearing. America had lost its young president. The assassination of JFK became one of the most shocking moments in modern history. Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in immediately. The presidency changed in an instant. The dream of a new frontier ended suddenly. But Kennedy's image did not disappear. It grew stronger. Sometimes a short life creates a long legacy. JFK's presidency lasted only a little over 2 years. But its impact lasted decades. He is remembered for courage during the Cuban Missile Crisis, for support of civil rights, for inspiring speeches, for a vision of progress and hope, and for the promise of a future that was never fully realized. His wife, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, helped shape how the world remembers him. Her dignity and strength after the tragedy became part of the Kennedy legacy. The idea of Camelot continued to define the era. A symbol of youth, beauty, idealism, and lost potential. Today, JFK remains one of the most studied and remembered presidents in American history. Not because his time was long, but because it was meaningful. From a wealthy boy in Brookline, to a war hero, to the 35th President of the United States, John Kennedy left behind a legacy of inspiration, crisis leadership, and unfinished dreams. And perhaps that is why he is still remembered today, not only for what he achieved, but for what he made people believe was possible.